Hello student, welcome to my class. Today in my class I am going to take class 12 geography practical work. So from today I am going to start the practical book of class 12. So the book name is Practical Work in Geography Part 2. So why this is Part 2? Because already its first part we have completed in the class 11. So in Inter you have two books in Geography Practical. The first part was completed in the class 11 and this is the second part of the same book. So that's why this book is called Practical Work in Geography Part 2. So from that book we have taken the first chapter and the name of the chapter is Data, its Sources and Compilation. So in this chapter you are going to understand the importance of data, you are going to understand what data actually mean, how the data are being presented, from where the data are being collected, what are the sources of data and many other things you are going to understand in this chapter. So let's proceed with this chapter. So first and foremost we are going to understand what does data actually mean. So data is actually a number. Any numerical information is a data. But that numerical information should be from the real world. It should not be an imaginary value. So this numerical information from the real world which represent a measurement, it's called a data. So what is datum? Datum is the single measurement from the data. Alright. So data basically give you some numerical information and that numerical information help you to make some logical conclusions. To make a logical conclusion from a data, you need to understand the data, you need to apply some algorithm to the data, you have to use some logical techniques in the data, you have to use some statistical methods in the data, and when you use all this thing, you will get some exact conclusion which can be helpful to solve your situation or to understand a problem in a better way. So that's why a logical method is needed to draw a conclusion from the data. Now let us understand why do we need data. So why we need data? Because data help us in understanding many things about a particular issue or about a particular subject. For example, when the data help you to understand the distribution. For example, if you see the income data, alright, so when you see the income data, you understand how the income is being distributed. When you see the score data or marks data, you understand how the scores or marks are being distributed. Alright, so to understand the distribution of an issue or of a problem or of a subject, the data help you a lot. So data help you to understand the distribution. At the same time, data help you to understand the growth. By seeing the data, by analyzing the data, you can understand the following things are growing or it's not growing. And if it is growing, whether it is growing in a positive way or it is growing in a negative way. So the growth you can understand by analyzing the data. So data is helping you to understand the distribution, data is helping you to understand the growth, and also data help you to understand the relationship between two phenomena. So what is the relationship between two phenomena that data help you to understand? For example, you see the data of a price and of a demand. If a product price is increasing, is the demand of that product is increasing or not? Or if the price increases, demand increases, or if the price increases, demand decreases, or if the price increases, the demand remains the constant. What is happening when the price is increasing to the demand? Whether the demand is also increasing or the demand is decreasing or the demand is remaining same with the increase in price. What is happening to the demand when the price is changing or when the price is increasing? So that we can understand by analyzing the data of price and demand. So not only the relationship of price and demand, you can understand the relationship between two phenomena, any two phenomena, with the help of analyzing of data. So data is helping you to understand the distribution, data is helping you to understand the growth, and data is helping you to understand the relationship between two phenomena, and that's why we definitely need data to make a proper geographical analysis, and that's why the data is needed. Now after understanding the need of data, let's move to the presentation of data. So when you are have collected the data, you use proper method, proper statistical method, and then you present the data. And when you present the data, you should make a proper conclusion out of it. When you are concluding from the data, no, you should be very particular. You should use the logic. Otherwise, you can get into a trouble. You can go. You can have a statistical fallacy. So, what is statistical fallacy? When you draw a wrong conclusion from the statistic and data, and you are caught in a dangerous situation or in a bad situation. So that is called statistical fallacy, and the best example for this is the story of Bachcha Duba Kahe. Why the child is drawn? Why the child was drawn in the river? The story, there is a small story. The boy was drawn in the river, and why this has happened to that boy? That what happened that the boy was drawn in the river? That story can help you to understand the importance of statistics. So let me tell you the story of of Bachcha Duba Kahe, why the child was drawn in the river, to make you understand the importance of statistics, and why statistic important, and why to have a proper conclusion from the statistic is very important. So let's understand this. For example, a lady came, and she have to cross a river, and she have to cross the river, and she saw a statistic of average depth of that river, and she find out from the statistics that average depth of river is only 3 feet. All right. So the average depth of the river was 3 feet, and she was actually 5 feet tall, and her child was actually 4 feet tall, and her husband was actually 6 feet tall. So when she saw all these statistics, no, she thought that the river is only 3 feet, the average depth of the river is only 3 feet, and my height is 5 feet, and my child height is 4 feet, and my husband height is 6 feet, so I can easily cross the river. And she moved forward. And when she moved forward, in between the journeys, she lost her child. And why this happened? This happened because she did not made a logical conclusion from the statistic. When she came to know that the average depth of the river is 3 feet, she must have understand that it is only the average depth, and this average depth is not applied in all the parts of the river. It is only the average depth. The river can be this river can be 2 feet deep in the starting, then it can go to 3 feet deep, and then it can be 6 feet, and then it can be 1 feet in the end. All right. So then it is only the average depth of the river. For example, if you calculate the average depth of the river, 2 plus 3 plus 6 plus 1 is equal to 12, and you will divide it by 4, because you have taken the 4 numbers in this, right? So you are dividing this from 4. 12 by 4 is equal to 3. All right. So it is only the average depth of the river. It is not the actual depth. The average depth does not tell you that this depth is applied in every part of the river. So because she took the average depth, and she thought that because my child is 4 feet tall, so he can cross the river easily, and by the time she moved forward, this in between this, she lost her child. Why she lost her child? Child in the river? Because she did not made a proper statistical conclusion. So you understood how the important it is to have a proper statistical conclusion. Because if you will not have a proper statistical conclusion, no, then you can be caught in a dangerous situation. And that's what the story of Bachcha Duba Kahe explain you. And so you really need to analyze the situation in a proper way to understand why this is happening, or how this should be applied, and how logically you can use this statistic. So if you are not using your logic while analyzing the statistic, you can be caught in a dangerous situation. So there are many actually analytical tools and technique available nowadays, which you can use and have a proper logical conclusions. So whether you are collecting the data, or you are organizing the data, or you are presenting the data, or you are making conclusion out of the data, in every stage of data you need to apply a proper statistical method. A proper logical conclusion should be drawn out of those statistics, and then it can lead to growth. Otherwise it can lead you to some dangerous situation. Alright, so that's what the importance is, to understand the data in a proper way. Now let us move to the sources of data. So see, there are two main sources of data. One is primary source and another one is secondary source of data. So this sources of data is very important to understand, because from here you collect the data, and after collecting the data only you can make any conclusions. So first and foremost, what you have to do, you have to collect the data. So if you are going for collection of data, from where will you collect the data? You can either collect it from the primary source or from the secondary source. So what is the difference between primary source and secondary source? In the primary source, you yourself collect the data. Either an individual is collecting the data, or a group of individual is collecting the data, or an organization or institution is collecting the data. So when you are collecting the data yourself, then it is a primary source of data. Then what is secondary source of data? In the secondary source of data, you are not collecting the data yourself. You are not collecting it yourself. Somebody else has collected already, and that somebody has published the data, or it has not published the data but has written in his official documents, and you use those data. When you use those data which were actually collected by somebody else, and either they were published or they were unpublished, and but you have not collected the data, you are just using the data which was collected by somebody else, then it is called secondary source of data. So these are the two sources of data. There is a diagram in your book, and this diagram you have to draw in the white sheet, in the white sheet of your practical book. So when you are making the practical book, you should see that this diagram come in the white side. So what this diagram is actually showing? This is actually showing you the two method of collection of data, two sources of collection of data. One is primary primary data, and another is secondary data. So primary data you can collect from all these four sources. Alright, and secondary data either you can collect from this published source, or you can collect from this unpublished source. And then published source is also having some subtype, and unpublished sources is also having some subtype. So this you can collect the data from this both the sources, and this diagram you have to draw in the white sheet. Alright, so now let us move forward and see the various sources of primary data. So in this video I am going to discuss only the primary sources of data. In the secondary source of data I will discuss in another video, but because if I discuss all the things here, then that video will become too big. So let us discuss only the primary source in this video. So there are four sources of primary data, as you have seen in the table in the last slide. So what are the four sources of primary data? First one is personal observation. So personal observation. Through the personal observation also you can collect the data yourself. So what you are doing in this, you are going in the field, you are observing the things, and then after the observation you are noting down the data. You are noting down the information. So that is called personal observation method of primary source. So in this method, what you are doing, you are collecting the theoretical knowledge with the scientific method, and you are having an unbiased attitude, so that you can make a proper and unbiased evaluation from the data. So here what is actually personal observation method? Here you are going to the field, you are observing the things, and then you are noting down the information. The example of primary source of data from the personal observation method, it can be like going to the field and observing the types of soil, going in the field and observing the relief feature, the drainage pattern, and other things. So when you are going to the field, observing the thing and noting down the information, that is called personal observation method. Alright, now let us see the second method of primary source of data, and that is interview method. So what is interview method? In this, what is happening? You are going to the respondent. Respondent is the person who responds to your questions, who give answers to your question. That is called respondent. So you are going to the respondent, you are having some conversation and dialogues from those respondent, and then you are collecting the information, and that matters. When you are talking to the respondent and collecting the data, that is called interview method. Interview method are primary source of data. So when you are going for the interview source, you have to keep some point in your mind. So what are the point which you should follow while taking the interview? The first and foremost, when you are collecting you are going for the interview, you should prepare a list of questions which you are going to ask in the interview. You cannot go in the interview and then decide what to ask and what not to ask. You have to prepare the questions which you want to ask in the interview beforehand, so as to save the time also, and to have an accurate answer. So that, because if you go suddenly and prepare the question, you can miss some questions. So you have to prepare the question beforehand, before the interview is being taken. After the question is being prepared, you should also, during the survey, you should have the clear-cut picture of what is the objective of your survey. Why you are conducting this survey? What is your objective? So that objective should be clear in your mind before collecting the data in the interview method. And also, this respondent, who is giving you the answers to your question, that respondent should be given an assurance that their data will not be leaked, and the secrecy will be maintained, and you will not leak those data. And even if you publish those data, numerical information, if you are publishing also, you will change the name and then publish. Okay, so that assurance you should give to the respondent. Another things which you should keep in mind while taking the interview, that you should sit in a congenial atmosphere. Means you should not sit in a crowd place and ask the personal question from the respondent. You have to sit in a proper place to ask the question, which is a suitable place for answering the questions. Also when you are taking the interview, your language should be simple, so that the respondent can understand it easily. You should also be very polite while asking the question. And also you should keep in mind that you should not affect the self-respect of the person. You don't affect the religious feeling of that person. You don't hurt that respondent in any way. And after your interview is being over, you have asked all the questions which you have written in the paper. After that also, you have to ask the respondent if he have any other additional information about this topic, about this matter. So if he have some other information which your question is actually not covering, then that additional information he can give it to you. So it is always better to ask whether he knows something else also about this topic. And once your interview is over, have some sense of gratitude. Pay thanks to the respondent because he has helped you to complete your survey. So this all are the rules which you should follow while taking the interview. So in this method, this is the second method of primary source of data, and this is also very helpful in collecting the data. So after this, we are moving to the third source of primary data, and that is questionnaire schedule. In this, what you do, you actually prepared a questionnaire in which you have the list of questions about which the respondent has to give the answer. And what you do, you distribute this questionnaire to everyone, and the respondent read the questionnaires and fill the answers. You basically ask simple question in this questionnaire, and you use the simple language, easy language which can be understood by the respondent, and also you use those questions which can be answered with the tick mark, so that the respondent don't feel lazy and don't refuse to answer you. So that he can fill in few minutes. So that type of question you actually used in survey, which is actually most of them are tick mark questions. All right. And also when you are conducting the questionnaire method, that time also the objective of survey should be clear to you. You should know why you are conducting this survey. And not only you, the respondent also have the right to know why he is answering, for what he is answering this questionnaire. Alright, so this objective should be clear to the interviewer and also to the respondent. All right. The third thing while you should follow while preparing a questionnaire schedule is that you should leave some space in the questionnaire so that if the respondent want to give some opinion, he can give his opinion in that questionnaire. So all these things should be kept in mind while collecting the data with the questionnaire schedule method. All right. And you know, this questionnaire schedule method is actually very useful. It has many advantages. You can conduct such survey in a large area in a very less time. Because suppose if you are going in a class, if you will go for interview, you have to spend 10 minutes to each respondent. But in questionnaire schedule method, what you are doing? You are distributing the questionnaire to the whole class together, and you are collecting back those questionnaire after 10 minutes. So after 10-15 minutes, you have collected a data from large number of people. So this method is actually helping you to collect the data from large area. All right. And also this method can be used in mail survey. So you can send this questionnaire through the mail, and the respondent will fill those questionnaire and send you back through the mail itself. So you can in this way collect this questionnaire schedule through the questionnaire schedule method. You can collect the data in a easy and a proper way, and in a very quick way, and in a very cheap way. It's very less costly. All right. So this method can really be helpful, but of course this method have one disadvantage, and that is illiterate people or semi-illiterate people sometimes cannot understand the questionnaire, or they cannot read also the questionnaire, and that time you cannot go for questionnaire method. So for this also you have some solution. Suppose if the person is illiterate, you can send the enumerator to those area, and the enumerator can ask question orally from the respondent, and the enumerator himself can fill the questionnaire on behalf of respondent. So this method is also very helpful to collect the data from the primary source. So till now in the primary source you have read the three way, the personal observation method, then you have read the interview method, and then third one is questionnaire and schedule method. Now let us move to the fourth source of primary data, and that is other method. In this, what you do, you use some kit, you use some tools to collect the data. For example, you are using some tools and techniques and kits in collecting the data. For example, like you are going to a place and collecting the data about the quality of the soil. You use those kits and collect the quality of the soil, where how much minerals is present in that soil, or what is the humus quantity in that soil, etc., etc. So with the help of kit, you can collect the data. Same way, you can use the water quality kit to collect the data about the water, whether water is polluted or less polluted, or if it is polluted, how much it is polluted. Alright, so water kit, soil kit, all this type of kits and tools can help you to understand the thing, to collect the data in a research way. Alright, so this is also one of the way to collect the data, and this also come under the primary source of data. So with this we have completed the primary source of data. We have studied the four method in the primary source of data, that is interview method, questionnaire and schedule method, and then you have the personal observation method and other method in which you use the kits. So with this we have concluded the first part of this this chapter, that is primary source of data. In the second part I will discuss the secondary source of data, and we will discuss some other topics of this chapter also. Student, if you understand, please like, share and subscribe MP Social View. Thank you for watching, student, and happy learning.